I took on a designer mindset. First of all, I selected a pattern that I would have never picked, right? So it wasn't about what I'm used to, what I like. Hello, hello, welcome back. Ta-da! She's done. I am here to talk about Simplicity 9239. This will be the final video that you get about Simplicity 9239. I almost didn't make this jacket, like at all. And when I tell you that now is probably one of my most favorite pieces that I've ever sewn, that would be true. And the wild thing is, this came about because of a comment that I received on a video that I had done previously where a person called, she named this pattern and she said she had trouble with the cuffs. And I'm like, let me check this out. So if you saw my video where I made a Vogue pattern and I got stuck, so I think the title was I Got Stuck on Step 36, a toolkit for mastering sewing instructions. If you saw that video, you know I gave a challenge there. I said, if you refer to any one of these tools that I've put in this toolkit and they don't work, let me know. Now, she'd already made the jacket, right? She worked her way through it. You know, like we always do when we can't really figure out sewing instructions, we make it work. So she made it work. But she did say that she knew that it wasn't correct. And she said that, she loved the jacket. She wears the jacket. But she was asking me about the cuff construction. And right away, my curiosity just, pew! I looked up the pattern and I said, this is probably not a jacket that I would pick for myself, but I'll get the pattern. I'll make it. I could either look at the instructions and respond to her, or I could just make the jacket. So the next Joann sale, I went and got it. I picked it up. I decided last year for the summer that I was going to make this jacket to wear to a conference. And so that's when I cut it out. And here we are. I love this pattern. If you have this pattern, you got to make it. I wore this out today and it was high 60s. To be honest, I don't even think it got to high 60s. It said it was going to be. I think it got to mid 60s. And I love it. It feels good on. It feels chic. It's comfortable. It's cute. It's an eye catcher. Like you see people looking. It's a compliment getter. Not that you need compliments because you make what you wear, you like it. But it's nice when somebody tells you that they like what you have on and you made it. Like, you know what I mean? That's next level. That is next level. This project got me to thinking. Because as I started putting it together, this pattern wasn't on my radar. I would have never picked it. But I'm making it work for me. And how I'm doing that is with the decisions that I'm making, the details that I'm adding. And I had said in a previous video that had I made it when I was going to, I don't know that it would have been this great. This jacket is great. I don't mind saying it. It is fabulous. It feels fabulous on.
Okay, I got to slow down with that. Okay.
In my mind, I said, you know what? This is something you could really see on a runway, I believe. As I was making it, this is what popped up in my head. So it made me think about how designers must think. What is their mindset like? What are they thinking? And I knew right away that it could not be about what other people thought or what other people saw. Because, there's some things you see on the runway and you're like, that's for somebody, but it's not for me. You know what I mean? Everything's not for everybody. But those things that you see, like the things that I see that I really like, and I'm like, how did they come up with that? And I feel like I went through that process with this jacket. I feel like I took on a designer mindset because I wasn't afraid. I selected a pattern that I would have never picked, right? So it wasn't about what I'm used to, what I like, because oftentimes when I search for patterns, I search for what I like, what I already like. And sometimes that can lead to you having some of the same looking kind of patterns, right? Because we know there's just a sloper. Patterns are so basic and then you just design it the way you want. You can really just have one pattern, one blouse pattern, change the sleeves, change the collar, change the darts, the seams, right? You could have one pants pattern, make it a wide leg, make it a short leg. So really and truly, if I look at my patterns, which I have before, there's a lot of similarities there. You know what I mean? Because it's what I like. So I think designers probably explore, pick things that could work or choose things that can work, make decisions about things that can work, there would have been times that I would not have added some of these details for fear of what other people might say. So I have a collection of applique, iron-on appliques. They're roses. Most of them are red, right? I have a few that are pink, obviously. So I just picked the pink ones out for this jacket. At one point, I had thought about putting like a ton of roses here, a ton of roses here, and then just some roses here, as much as would hold on this little pocket. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. But what I did was I took my time and thought my way through it. I didn't rush to try to hurry up and get it done. And I think that made the difference. I think there's so much to be said about a mindset when you're sewing. And this changed the way I sew. Put your own touch, put your own spin on every single thing you make. Don't rush to get it done. Take your time and do it the way you want to do it. You're not up against any deadlines. That is so rewarding to see that my taste, my style, this jacket is an expression of who I am. I love denim, love plaids, and I love florals. And so I brought all those together in this piece. And I'm delighted. So this is encouragement for somebody. Do your thing. Do your thing. You take the time to cut out something and sew it up. Do it just the way you want to. It doesn't matter what people think. It's all about how you feel wearing it, the vision that you saw for yourself. This jacket came out better than I could have ever imagined, and I am glad about that. The cuff construction could be a little confusing if you had not done that method before. When I first bought the pattern, I checked to make sure that the cuff, that there weren't variations of cuff construction. And there's not. There are 3 versions here. There's an A, a B, and a C. The cuffs are put on the same way for each jacket. Now for A, the sleeve is thinner. The sleeve is slimmer, and the cuff is smaller. For B and C, B has the patch on it. C does not. But the sleeves are wider on B and C, and the cuff is also wider. If we look at sleeve A, this is sleeve A, piece 10. This is cuff A, piece 11. So this is all of the sizes. I'm going to go to the XXS, just so you can get an idea. Okay, so this is the width of the XXS. So this is about 14¼ inches wide before seam allowance. Piece 11 is the actual cuff that goes with sleeve A. It is 3½ inches wide. All right, let's look at piece 13 and piece 15, which is sleeve BC and cuff BC. All right. So this width is, let me measure from that line to that line, about 16¼ and this is 4¼ inches wide. So what I did was I just wanted to make sure that at the bottom of the sleeve, everything was the same. And it's true, there's two small circles here, 2 small circles here, a notch and a notch. So the bottom of the sleeve is the same. And then each cuff has a notch here at the top that's attached to the jacket, as well as a notch here that's attached to the jacket. 1 small circle to the right part of the cuff, right? 1 small circle, 1 small circle, and then 2 circles for each size. 2 circles, 2 circles, 2 circles, 2 circles. Okay, same marking, same identical thing. That's what I needed to make sure. How the cuff is attached. You clip up to these 2 circles and then you hem this piece in between. I have to make sure I have piece 15. Now you're going to take this. Let's do the extra small. Let me pin that closed. Step 29, you're applying the interfacing. Step 30, you're trimming the seams and corners, and this is where you turn the cuff and press. So step 31 is where you attach the cuff to the sleeve. And the instructions read as follows. Step number 31. With right sides together, pin sleeve to cuff, matching notches, and placing opening edges at small dots. Baste, stitch, trim seam, press towards cuff. All right, so what that's telling you to do is, this is the right side of my sleeve here, right? Because this is the right side of my pattern. This is the back. This is the front. This is the right side of my cuff. In order to put right sides together, I have to turn this cuff this way, which makes sense because this is going to be pointing towards the back, right? This will be facing the back. When you button, it'll be buttoning to the back, which is, indicative of these markings here. So I'm just going to match this cuff up here, this notch here, right? I hope you can see that. And then this small circle is going to match up with this small circle on my cuff. So this is an opening edge. When the instructions talk about matching notches and placing opening edges at small dots, right? So this is an open edge, right? You put these opening edges at the small dot. Now, this is going to go around this small circle. Is the small circle on this cuff is attached, lines up with the small circle on the sleeve, right? This is going toward the back because it's going to button toward the back. And then the notches are matched up. And then these two circles are matched up. So that is how the cuff is attached. Let's say you didn't really understand that. You didn't get that. So let me try one of my methods, my toolkit. Let's go to the toolkit here. I'm just going to pin this roughly. So I've sewn the sleeve up now, and I'm using this pattern piece to show you. Okay, so here's my sleeve. This is the sleeve that I've sewn together. I have this part done, okay? And I am just not sure, what are they talking about? I read the instructions and I don't get it. If you look at step 31, I am going to place my sleeve the exact way that step 31 is placed, the way that the illustration shows. What I see here is that the underarm seam is here, the notch is on that side, and this little opening part is facing me, right, well, where I'm standing. So let me try to recreate that. So here's the notch underneath on the bottom, like it is on the picture. Here's my notch. Here's the notch, right? If I put this down here, here's my opening. Let me put a pin in here. It came out. And then this right here would be my underarm seam. See that? That's the back, that's the front. This is my underarm seam right here. So this picture looks like this one. I got my notch on the bottom. So one of the steps I said, you match, what you do is you put your project the exact way that the illustration is so that you can see it from this point of view. All right. So now I'm going to take the cuff. If you think of the cuff as having a pointed end, right, and then just a straight edge, if you think of the cuff that way, then you can see that the straight edge on the illustration is the one that's closest to this side, right? And so if I put this here like this is what I'm doing, right sides together. And now this looks like this. So I'm going to pin this here. All right, so then this, I can see this little point out here. I can see that this point goes to this other edge here. So I put that point, I match that there. Put a couple pins in along the way. It just so happens these notches are matching up. As they should. And then this pins right here. So now if I lay this back like this, right, I can see that my sleeve is attached at the straight edge right here. My notch is here, right? And then I can see this point coming out, like I can see this point coming out on the illustration. Is this not amazing? Usually when you have pictures and you have words, the words and the pictures correspond somehow, you know, if everything is written well. This is the cuff construction that inspired this make for me. I hope this helps. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Now let's talk about the jacket. The sleeves are real baggy and big and kind of long. And when I wore it out today, I found that the only time that bothered me is when I put my hands down. So in this jacket, I have a tendency to keep my hands, you know, up, forward. At one point in my pictures, you can see where I rolled the cuff up. And that was a much better fit. So really and truly, this cuff, everything could have been shorter, right, on me. So I could have taken up the sleeve, but then I would have had to adjust the pocket. And then, you know, it just would have been a lot. And this isn't terrible. Now, what I could do is I could actually, let's see, I could probably put this, I could put a button, let's say here, right? Now, this would look like this under the back. I'd have to see how that would, if it would distort this side pocket. But I could really move this button from about here to here, right? Because whatever's going to be going on is going to be under the underside anyway, as long as it doesn't affect this pocket. I decided to put all the pockets on and the side pockets. And then there's a collar, and then there's like a bishop's collar. I thought it was going to be too short. I shortened it quite a bit at the hem, 1 inch, and then in the center of the garment about 3 1/4 inches. It looks a little short and boxy on her. I mean, it comes right to her hip, right? Mine is still a little longer, but I love it. I love it. I love it. I would make this jacket again. I thought about version C, which is the longer version, and I would do something about the cuff situation. So this cuff wouldn't be fit the way it is now, but I like the cuff. I probably would with this patch on here, but I probably will put the patch on. I like this patch right here. This pattern was a lesson for me. Sometimes the very things we overlook have the most to teach us, that we can learn from. It's not just about sewing, but it's about how we choose. So shout out to Tammy, who left that comment on my video over a year ago. This was inspired by you, so thank you. Let me know in the comments if you've ever put your whole self into a project and it turned out just the way you wanted it to. I would love to hear about it. As always, hope all is well with you. Thanks for joining me today, and until next time, take care.